Well, howdy YouTube gamers, welcome. Today we have a drama alert yet again, because this gamer over here, he has interesting debate on his channel about hacking relics in Elden Ring Nightreign. Point of it is that, like in his previous video, this one that has like a 120k views, you are going to see something interesting at the beginning of it. Check this out. So as you can see here, this gamer essentially has insanely good relic over here, yeah? This roll is also like a good, but here is a problem though. This thing doesn't exist among the rolls. You cannot get it. After that, this gamer made like a post in the community tab where he actually asked what people think about it. Funnily enough, the results are that vast majority of people apparently do not care. And yeah, that's essentially the backstory. Let's start it, yeah?
So this is somewhat of an addendum to my last video where I was called out for editing relics that I used. This video isn't about making excuses for myself nor attacking anybody, and I want to avoid dramatizing this situation even further out of proportion. Okay. The main focus of this video is to analyze whether relic editing is good or bad for the game, and should you choose to do it, how can you do so in the most legitimate way possible? To clarify, I don't mean to explore how you should deceive people into thinking you didn't mod your relics, but rather, how can you edit these relics without breaking the rules of Nightreign completely while avoiding making the same mistakes I made? Since it's going to be a thing in the future, people might as well be equipped on how to edit relics while preserving the integrity of the game as much as possible. To start off, I want to delve into the affirmative side for relic editing, and mention some arguments overall that people have said. I often see people argue for the idea that they'd rather focus on the gameplay aspect of Nightreign and avoid having to grind RNG to secure decent relics.
Okay.
This mostly enables challenge running like no hits or speedruns, as they can be made a little easier with good relics, and people don't want to have to rely on luck to get those. Though to note, this feeds into another affirmative point that relics don't really affect the game all that much, unless abused, which I'll get into later. Most good
I actually want to point out one particular thing, yeah? Like from the competitive perspective, if let's say someone has only god rolls and another individual doesn't have these god rolls, then yeah, like it might be actually competitive advantage slash disadvantage, which actually can affect, let's say, like tournaments, yeah? It's mostly community stuff, but my point being here is you can actually work it around without being on the competitive advantage or disadvantage related to randomness of the relics. Tournament organizers could require you to use only guaranteed relics, because we have these, yeah? Let me actually open the game. So yeah, like, you know, if you are going to go to the shop and, well, either to the collector signboard or even here like regular shop, yeah, you actually can see relics over there. Like those are actually very good relics, like mostly, and they are guaranteed. Every single individual has access to these relics with a little bit of grind of the merc. If I would be a tournament organizer, I would probably request everyone to use only guaranteed relics, because it is just like the most fair. It actually mitigates competitive disadvantage, and people would have to focus on figuring out the meta around rather stable environment without like some people not having access to particular things, yeah? Besides the shop relics, you of course also have like a boss relics and so on and so forth. So I would say like this is probably like the proper way how you could approach it in case of the tournaments, in case of like things similar to, let's say, like a challenge runs where you're actually competing with others and so on and so forth, yeah? What about remembrance relics? Yeah, same story, it's guaranteed relic, so I don't see a problem with them at all.
Relics will buff an ability or two on the character you're playing, as well as maybe start you off with a bonus item or skill. This really doesn't affect the game or experience as much as you might think, especially in multiplayer. At its core, it's maybe just more quality of life for the player rather than anything else. So
okay, this is cope. Like, literally, particular relics in this game makes certain characters literally playable. Like, the difference between, let's say, Guardian, yeah, like probably the worst character in the game. Difference between Guardian that has a relic with the shield bounce thing and the one that doesn't have like the shield bounce thing, like it's astronomical, yeah? And also like on top of that, like it's, let's say, like a wielder that has this fire spread passive on the ult versus the one that doesn't. It's also like a day and night. Relics enable particular characters, make them like much better in the process. So this is like pure cope what he's saying right now. But like maybe he means like a random relics, which I also disagree with. If you can just literally create your own relic with whatever passives that are available in the game, you can literally make the god relics just like that. They are actually going to affect the game. They're gonna affect the early game, for example, like in whatever way you want. Like it's yeah, it's definitely a competitive advantage and quite a big one on top of everything.
So editing relics sort of becomes a non-issue. On the other hand, players against relic editing often argue that it sacrifices not only the grinding aspect inherent to roguelikes and Nightreign, but also compromises the integrity of multiplayer matches. Personally, I'm not a fan of grinding the RNG for relics, so maybe I'm going against the developer's intentions by editing relics and circumventing this. I honestly don't put much stock into this point, as I view it as largely just preferential. For the second point, I think—
Okay, let's stay on the first point for a sec, dude. It's not like relics are just something that you grind. They are more like actually a purpose and main thing about the end game. So from the perspective of actually PvP player, yeah, everyone in the PvP, especially in the competitive PvP, or like people that are actually like deep into like tryhard PvP scene, everyone is duplicating items, everyone is just like using cheat engine and so on to get themselves like legitimate weapons, but you know, in legitimate way. It's basically just like speeding up the process of the farming of something that you are pretty much guaranteed to get, yeah? You might spend shit tons of time farming these golem arrows, but you will farm them sooner or later. You are by no means guaranteed to get the god roll, yeah? Like this is something completely different. On top of that, the farming like relics is legitimately the only thing that is left for you. Like this is like the main purpose of the gameplay loop after you're going to finish the game, yeah? You potentially getting like, this is actually fucking good roll. What the fuck? What we just gotten? Like, you like getting... Holy fuck, this is... I mean, it's character skill cooldown reduction only +1, not +3, but... Holy fuck, we just got the god roll practically. What the hell? But yeah, like, oh, actually, just something like that, yeah? This is actually perfect for the video. Just the fact we got it, and the fact, like, how much joy I right now have out of the fact I got it, like, it just goes completely out of the window. If I would be cheating my relics. I personally prefer to not cheat relics because I think that the randomization of relics, it is just like an insanely important part of this game. It's overall what we see actually here on the top right. Yeah, sacrifice the roguelike grinding. Honestly, it's kind of like the point. Like the roguelikes is about like repetitive farming of something. This is actually how it works. Like this you are repeating the runs in order to maximize everything. So like it's such a weird argument. You know what's even funnier technically? When I see the post over there, like people saying mostly that 52% is actually like they couldn't care less. And on top of that, we actually concluded very similar poll. And here, for an example, 16% of people actually, yes, go insane. 1% goes by like no, it's cheating. But 61% being like, as long as you do it offline, it's okay. And this is honestly for me kind of like a weird thing. Maybe like people like think of it as like of cheating relics that are impossible to get instead of relics that are almost impossible to get, like because you have such a little chance to just get things on your relics that you truly want, yeah? I don't know. Point being though is, in my eyes, it's kind of like a weird. There is like a lot of people that is okay with this idea. The idea of what is essentially the main thing about the game. Like, relics are endgame in Nightreign. This is your post game. This is what you do after you beat like everything in the game. You farm relics. This is your progression way.
I think most players wouldn't disagree with this, but instead wouldn't really care if someone had edited relics slightly on their team. As I mentioned previously, this just doesn't affect the expedition as much as some would claim. But what if someone modded their relics to be absolutely broken, and increased their damage to absurd amounts? Well, that would definitely cross a line, and would substantiate this argument. I could easily edit all my relics to have triple physical attack +2 and
this is not even a good example, dude. What you could potentially do is give yourself passives of the weapons that have infinite scaling, like the one from the Grafted Greatsword or the one of the Marais Sword. I don't remember actually, but like you can actually give yourself these passives on relics, and because of that have infinite scaling, yeah?
And blast through everything in a single match, effectively ruining the experience for other players. If I was playing in a party with my own friends, and they were fine with this, then there wouldn't be a problem. But the issue arises when I can't know for sure if other players would appreciate me absolutely destroying everything before they really get a chance to fight. So for editing relics to be somewhat acceptable, you'd obviously have to follow the game's internal rule set, and this isn't really something easily policed, so I get why people would want to draw a line at editing relics altogether. With that said, I think I can summarize these rules and how relics operate in Nightreign with about 3 points. 1. You can have multiple of the same type of attribute on one relic, but it isn't possible to get the exact same attribute more than once on a relic. This means that it's possible to get something like poison darts in possession at start of expedition, as well as throwing daggers in possession at start of expedition, but you won't be able to get 2 lots of the poison darts. I do want to note though that
Wait. So yeah, this is what the guy's saying. It's actually pretty funny because like a relic like that is actually in the game. It's on the collector signboard where you actually have 3 times of the same thing. But I guess like in gacha, oh, here you go, yeah? Times 3 like starlight shards. But I guess maybe like in gacha you actually cannot get these. This is what I heard as well. I don't know like if, I think I never actually got like the same thing twice, yeah? The same, like for example, technically you can get like a vigor times 3 in the relic, but it must be vigor plus 1, vigor plus 2, and vigor plus 3. I don't think you can get like a vigor plus 3 times on one relic. So like this is also like I think this actually, yeah, this thing might be correct, yeah.
Of the poison darts. I do want to note though that there does seem to be a new exception to this, as there's a guaranteed relic sold at the collector's signboard that gives you 6 starlight shards. Additionally, relic attributes will stack bonuses across different relics on a build, but won't stack together on one relic. And lastly 3, there are many unused relic attributes that are available in game files and editing tools, but are not legitimately obtainable within the game. That last one especially is what is so contentious about my last video. When we have a look at the relics I showed on screen in this run, you might notice this attribute seems out of place, and that's because it isn't currently obtainable in the game. Interestingly, there are actually a bunch of relic attributes that are not legitimately available in Nightreign. So how did this happen? Well, the easy answer is that I just didn't know, and stupidly assumed every attribute in the game files was obtainable. I mean, how would you check? You could sort through the relics you currently have to see if it's in the game, but there's always the chance that you just haven't pulled that attribute yet. But that aside, in all honesty, I was just lazy and didn't dig deep enough to check if this relic was legitimate.
I don't fucking get this argument. The gamer made a video, yeah, where he presented what he considers as reaching Dutch's insane DPS limit. If you're like editing your relics, like they are never going to be able to achieve whatever you actually did here. As simple as that. That's why I think like the best way to actually make this type of videos and like overall guide type of content is based off like guaranteed relics. That's actually what I did with my videos for one.
This wasn't me trying to get away with blatant cheating, as if I wanted to, I would have just lied about my relics and shown different ones. I'd hope I shouldn't have to clarify that.
What? Wait. Do I understand it correctly? Let me actually turn on CC. I'm so confused.
Honestly, I was just lazy and chance that you just haven't. I mean, how would you check? You could sort through the relics you currently have to see if it's in the game, but there's always the chance that you just haven't pulled that attribute yet. But that aside, in all honesty, I was just lazy and didn't dig deep enough to check if this relic was legitimate. Okay. This wasn't me trying to get away with blatant cheating, as if I wanted to, I would have just lied about my relics and shown different ones.
Bullshit.
Jesus, this is like some sort of the post-factum explanation of the type of like initially he says that like he actually just didn't like realize and like that he made a mistake, and now he makes the mastermind out of himself. That like I am so confused about this argumentation. Okay, let's go.
I'd hope I shouldn't have to clarify that, but since I'm seemingly criticizing something I'm guilty of, I feel compelled to point out that there really wasn't any ill intentions. Should I have been more transparent and clarified that some attributes were edited? Probably. Though since I wasn't aware that this attribute was unobtainable, I didn't feel the need to at the time, though with hindsight I definitely should have. But if you feel deceived, imagine how I felt when I found out that this Mystical Improved Sorceries attribute only buffs your sorcery damage by 4%, and I could have tripled this boost at 12% if I simply equipped Improved Carrion Sorceries instead. So to prevent this from happening again, you can use this spreadsheet that only lists available attributes to cross-reference what relics are currently obtainable as of Nightreign 1.01.3, linked in the description. I also understand that since I titled the video as a breakdown and made it a pseudo guide, that this obviously takes some of the legitimacy out of it. But hopefully this explanation somewhat clears me of being sly lying trash. Yeah, some people were pretty mad about this. To end off the Relic debate, I don't really care which side you land on. It doesn't matter to me all that much if you disagree with Relic editing, but I understand why if you do, and Relic editing as a whole certainly needs to follow the game's internal guidelines in order to be considered acceptable by the wider community. I played through the game once with legitimate relics, and now that I want to do more challenge runs, I simply don't want to have to grind out RNG for more of these relics. So
But you don't have to. You can.
The challenge.
What's an idea here? So like, if that's a challenge run, like then why one of the caveats for you of doing the challenge runs is to boosting your power with something that's making your life easier. It's kind of weird argumentation. Me, when I make challenge runs, less challenging Pog.
So yeah, I want to dedicate the rest of this video to a few things I may have gotten wrong in the last video as well. In the video, I mentioned that the Scorpion charms lower your negation to the element of the charm, which isn't actually true. These talismans buff the specific elemental damage by 15% and then actually lower your physical damage negation by 3%. It's actually written right there, I just completely missed it. And this is the same in base Elden Ring, so I guess I've just had it wrong this whole time. As well as this, I joked a few times that Carrion Slicer can be buffed with Wingsword Insignia and successive attack bonuses. This is actually true. In base Elden Ring, although spells and ranged weapons are indeed not processed by successive attack buffs, some melee spells are actually an exception to this. Notably, Carrion Slicer, Greatsword, and Carrion Piercer all trigger successive attack buffs when hitting an enemy multiple times. This carried over to Nightreign, so all of these spells also trigger successive attacks here. I know that this footage isn't using Wingsword Insignia, but I just couldn't find it in game, so this is the next best thing to prove what I mean. So if you stuck around this long, I hope you enjoyed the video. It's very different to the content that I'm used to making, and hopefully I didn't come across as too arrogant or something when sharing my thoughts. Last video was extremely sloppy by my standards, and I'll do better in the future, but until then, consider supporting me, and I'll see you next video.
Okay, what we have in chat here. I'm against cheating for Relic Nightreign, but I want to challenge you. How it is different from you making a PvP ready build with cheat engine Elden Ring? In both cases, you are using external tools to skip past the game's intended progression. Both involve the same level of technical manipulation, the same decision of circumvent game systems, and the choice to enter online play with advantages you didn't earn through legitimate play. I believe that's a different thing because I am going to get these 630 golem arrows if I'm gonna spend enough time farming them. I'm going to get these 25 great bows if I am going to beat the game 25 times. It's just achievable. I don't know if I am going to get the god roll. And I think this is like the most important thing. And also on top of that, the key aspect of Elden Ring in the end game or in the PvP is not like a farming for the PvP match, yeah? You are already limited by certain amount of consumables that you essentially can use during one session. And because of that, I think you cannot really compare these two cases. So this is how I see it, yeah? I think like in case of Relics in Nightreign, on its own, it is end game. Getting these nearby impossible or like very rare rolls is the end game. And I myself, I don't cheat relics because I do believe that this would take away from the game. Even experience of getting like a shit rolls, like something like you actually spent your mercs and you got dog shit, it's also an experience worth of remembering.
Oh my god, another god roll.
Lamao. So yeah, this is basically what I think here, frankly. I will admit that 0.0001% scenario does feel different, even if I can't articulate a principled reason why it should be.
I think that the difference in probability matters. Imagine if everybody, like 1 million people, all of the sudden wins a lottery. Realistically, if something has 1 billionth of a chance to drop, you will not drop it. How often do you win a lottery? But if you spend an hour of farming golems, you will get your arrow. I don't know if it's a good argument, but I just intuitively think it's just different, that the probability matters. And in Nightreign, it's bypassing it.